Donald Trump is the sworn enemy of everyone at MSNBC, but perhaps Joe and Mika value pulling up their sagging ratings more than they care about the woke purity test that Rachel Maddow and Joy Reid would like them to take. Let's hear what they had to say themselves about their relationship with President-elect Donald Trump.
Joe and I went to Mar-a-Lago to meet personally with President-elect Trump. And for those asking why we would go speak to the president-elect during such fraught times, especially between us, I guess I would ask back, why wouldn't we? 5 years of political warfare has deeply divided Washington and the country. We have been as clear as we know how in expressing our deep concerns about President Trump's actions and words in the coarsening of public debate. But for nearly 80 million Americans, election denialism, public trials, and January 6th were not as important as the issues that moved them to send Donald Trump back to the White House with their vote.
All right, Ron, there you have it. I don't know, dude. What's more contemptible? The people who refuse to look at the writing on the wall and understand that they've been demonizing Trump to such a ridiculous extent that over half of society no longer can take anything that they say seriously. That's your Rachel Maddow. That's your Chris Hayes. That's your Joy Reid. Or is it more contemptible to just care about nothing and just be such a capitalist that all you care about are your ratings and your success and everything that goes with that, that now you're going to start to change your tune just because the guy that you warned us about so many times over and over again, Joe Scarborough, cursing as he talks about how this is the best Joe Biden that he's ever seen and all of that. I don't know, Ron. I'm not sure who bothers me more, to tell you the truth.
It's just all performative. I mean, it's just like AOC, right? Changing her pronouns. Like, come on, you guys are just showing your cards here. Like, you don't care about anything other than being popular, and popular translates into money. I don't know, Ricky. It's just all performative, and I don't even care because I didn't even know who Joe Scarborough was until I saw clips of what you just talked about, where people were showing him saying that Joe Biden was the sharpest that he'd ever seen him. Like, I never even knew who he was. So they clearly think that they're way more important than they are. Like, they're nobodies. Like, nobody watches that network. Like, again, I just don't care, but it's all this performative. That's all it is. They don't care. They're just money hungry populists. They want to be popular. I'm tired of them, Ricky.
I have respect for sincerity, even if I think it's wrongheaded, even if I think it's stupid. I at least respect sincerity, and what I see from those two is anything but. It's just opportunistic. You're going to change what you're saying to people as the political climate shifts. I don't know. I think you should own all the shit that you said before the election, because you sure said it like you really believed it. Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski would look into the camera and they said awful things, not just about Donald Trump, but things that if you supported Donald Trump, they were saying shit that you easily could have taken as being about yourself as well. And now we're just going to pretend that that didn't happen and try to find a new path forward. I'm not buying it. There's one person, Ron, that we can count on to not back down from the good fight that she's been fighting. And it's one of your favorites, Sunny Hostin on The
Don't
View.
Say her name. Don't say her name.
She has so much momentum. She's so far away from being able to apply the brakes. She's probably madder at Joe and Mika than you or I are. Let's listen to what Sunny Hostin had to say, just because Ron loves it so much.
America needs a free press that is willing to speak truth to power right now, more than ever. And I think that we have to be very clear-eyed when we think about the president-elect and cover the president-elect. And I don't think you need to sit down for 90 minutes at Mar-a-Lago and kiss his ring to be able to speak truth and to be able to cover a story.
Sonny Hostin says that America needs a free press that's willing to speak truth to power. Well, there's one thing I can agree with her on. Has she not been satisfied with the free press that 90% of the time has said whatever shit she believes for years and years and years? This is the thing that kills me about the left. It absolutely kills me about the left. The media is 90% in your corner and 90% against your enemies, and they still find a way to bitch and complain about the media because the media somehow has not been left-leaning enough. Donald Trump saying, while many others are calling for meetings, I'm not looking for retribution, grandstanding, or to destroy people who treated me very unfairly or even badly beyond comprehension. I'm always looking to give a second and even third chance, but never willing to give a fourth chance. That is where I hold the line, said Donald Trump exclusively to Fox News Digital. Well, hey, look, that's more chances than some of my ex-wives gave me, Ron. Seems like a pretty reasonable guy to me.
Yeah, I was like 4 chances. Like, do you think he's got a little notebook and he like keeps track of like chances
he's like
for
Santa.
Everybody?
He's got a list. He's checking it twice. The one thing about Trump that is so funny to me, he's so theatrical. It's like you're either the best person in the world. If you're with him, you're the best person in the world. I mean, nobody gives a back rub verbally better than Donald Trump. He'll make you feel like you're $10 million if he likes you. And if he decides that he doesn't like you, you're going to feel like a piece of shit on the bottom of somebody's shoe. And he has no real in-between. Donald Trump, say what you want about him. He's not a fence straddler, is he? And some of the people that he works with most closely, you can find lots of public comments he's made about them where he ridiculed them mercilessly. I mean, look at the things that he said about Marco Rubio and other people that he's now filling his administration with. So, I think so much of what Trump does is just Trump being Trump. And you got to take everything that he says in terms of who he loves or who he hates with a grain of salt. He's a showman. He's P.T. Barnum in politics.
No, he is. But I respect that he is who he is. I don't know, Ricky. I just every day I just keep getting more tired of the left. Just like your team lost, like just shut up, sit back. Let's see how this all unfolds. And then if a year or 2 or 3 years from now, it unfolds like you thought it was going to, then you can say, haha, I was right. Or have some dignity and say, you know what? We were wrong. The guy did a good job. But at this point, just shut up.
Well, that's never going to happen.
Nobody wants to hear
Ron.
from you.
You know that's never going to happen. There's never going to be an admission that he does a good job. He could have the greatest term in the history of presidential politics, and there would be no validation of that from the left. They're going to continue to say a lot of the ridiculous shit, and the only thing that will stop it is if they decide strategically that they've got to clamp down on the rhetoric. Once the word comes down from the machine that, hey, we got to stop talking like this because it's turning voters off, you might see a change in the overall degree of how viciously they're going after Trump. But I don't think that we're going to get an apology if after 4 years, when there's a peaceful transition of power in 2029, which there will be, when Trump doesn't strip away all the rights of women, which he won't, when we don't have the apocalypse and catastrophe that they've been forecasting, when none of that happens, I don't expect there to be an apology, Ron. So I hate to put a spoiler on this, but I don't think we're ever going to get justice in terms of the people who have said all these nasty things about us. My former friend, who is no longer my friend because of my abhorrent political takes.
Right.
I wouldn't take him back as a friend now, if he came crawling on his hands and knees across cut glass. But these people don't know how to walk it back. There's no reason in any of it, and I don't expect it to become reasonable now.
Let me ask you a question, Ricky. So Trump's the president for 4 years. He clearly cannot be president again because he will have served 2 terms. And J.D. Vance
he'll be starting his 100-year reign of authoritarian
King
terror
Trump.
That point. Yes, he will be the king of the United States by then, and we will all be living prosperously under his reign.
So J.D. Vance is the Republican nominee. Do you think that this same media that says all this heinous, false things about Trump, how do you think they're going to treat J.D. Vance or Ron DeSantis or whoever, Vivek? How do you think they're going to treat not Trump?
Ron, in 4 years, the mainstream media may be almost unimportant. You were talking about it on this program. The fact is, Elon said, you are the media now. Over half of our population rejected the narrative of the mainstream media because it was 85-90% positive coverage of Harris and 85-90% negative coverage of Trump, and we rejected it. If Trump comes in and does a reasonably good job, I think it's going to be very hard to scare people off of J.D. Vance, and it probably will be J.D. Vance. It'll be hard to scare people off of him if they've seen 4 years of none of the catastrophizing that the media did. If it doesn't come true, I think the media is just going to continue to lose credibility. And 4 years from now, there may be very few people who even give a shit what CBS News or NBC News has to say, Ronnie.
Yeah, but these people will still exist, and so maybe they won't be on MSNBC or CNN or ABC or whatever. They'll still exist, and so they'll have an X account. Like, I'm just saying, do you think that the Joe Scarboroughs of the world, do you think that they're going to attack J.D. Vance like they were attacking Trump, or was that just a one-off thing? It's like, nope, we're just going after Trump harshly.
I don't think they will be able to attack J.D. Vance or someone else in the same way that they attack Donald Trump. But I will tell you this, Ron. I will ask you this. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What the fuck, Ron? Hey now.
Come on! Let's go! Fuck yeah!
All right, so Ricky, the guy that just won that point that you're seeing is really demonstrative is a guy named Peter Schonk. And they were playing in a tournament in Playa del Carmen at the Quintana Roo International. And they had just won the championship for the men's advanced section. And he was just, again, as I said, demonstrative. And when he went to shake the guy's hand, he shook it so hard, or he slapped his hand, he knocked the guy's paddle out of his hand. And that guy did not enjoy that. And so he kicked him in the face. Thoughts?
What was the name of that tournament again, Ron? What was it called?
Quintana Roo International at the Pickleball Club at Playa del Carmen.
All right. I believe that's known as the Wimbledon of pickleball, Ron,
Some
if
are
I'm
saying.
not mistaken. Look,
Some are saying.
First of all, the Cincinnati Bengals just signed that guy, I'm being told. Okay? I mean, looks like he's got a good leg on him. Enough bullshit with the missed field goals. He's going in for a tryout this week. I don't even understand pickleball, Ron. Is it for people that like need more activity than table tennis, but less activity than real tennis? Is it the porridge that Goldilocks chose? What the fuck is so great about pickleball?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's a fun sport that's competitive, but it doesn't put a lot of strain on your body. So, there's a lot of people in my neighborhood that play, and a lot of people that are, 70 plus play. And there's not a ton of like lateral movement and a lot of, explosive movements. I always say it's kind of like you're playing table tennis, but you're on top of the table. I've actually played singles pickleball before with my friends, and I will tell you that's hard. Now, but it is still hard because you have to cover a lot of ground. But when you play doubles pickleball, it's not the hardest thing in the world, but it is. People love that sport. Like, it is just growing by leaps and bounds. Have you played?
It looks fun. I've never played it. No, I play tennis with my daughters, but no pickleball for me as yet. Can you play it in the winter, Ron? What happens in the wintertime, Ron?
Well, people that listen to our podcast before we started doing this show know that I always thought it was important to do a lot of PSAs. Talked about prostate exams, all kinds of things, right? Well, we have a PSA. So there's a doctor, Donald Grant, in the UK, who also is an advisor for a online pharmacy called the Independent Pharmacy. And he is kind of cautioning men against, are you ready? You live in Chicago. It gets cold in Chicago, doesn't it?
It does. It gets really cold here.
I'm going to need you to pay attention to and make sure you've taken care of what he's calling winter penis.
Ron, I'm afraid to ask this follow-up question, but I must. What is winter penis?
Well, so what he says happens is when it's cold outside, your penis will crawl back up into your body for warmth. And that will restrict blood flow to that area, causing it to be harder for you, not harder, causing it to be more difficult for you to perform in the bedroom. So it's just important to know that if you suffer from winter penis, you're not alone.
It's like the George Costanza problem. Shrinkage?
100% shrinkage.
Is this what we're to take from it? Well, nobody wants shrinkage. That's just a fact. There's not a big demand for shrinkage.
Yeah,
among men or women. I don't think, Ron.
But seriously, just know that you're not alone if you suffer from winter penis, and that is not a winter penis there.
That's a summer trophy right there, Ron. I said, perhaps the only thrill in golf that can match putting on the green jacket is winning the LPGA's Pornhub Open. And, that is not a real event, Ron. You'll be disappointed to know it's not a real event, but that trophy I don't know who designed it. Might want to send that one back. It might have been the same person that designed the Dwayne Wade statue that did that trophy, Ron. Maybe should have thought it out a little bit more and considered what it might look like. My God, it's a dumpster fire in Dallas. Just continues to get worse. The Cowboys handled with no problem last night by the Houston Texans at home, dropping to 0-5 at Jerry World. They are the only NFL team without a home win in 2024. The New York Giants don't have a home win this season, but they got one week 18 of last year, which was technically in this year of our Lord. So the Cowboys are the only team in the NFL that haven't posted a W at home in this calendar year. And worse than that, they just keep getting stomped at home. That 0-5 is worse the more you dig in to how bad they got beaten. They were beaten by 25 points by the New Orleans Saints. They had a close one with the Baltimore Ravens. They only lost by 3. Then the Lions beat them by 38 at home. The Eagles beat them by 28 at home. And the Texans beat them by 24 last night, and you can see it's wearing on the Cowboys faithful. That's right, 4 of their 5 home losses by 24 points or more. I know that they all go down as L's in the record book, and you don't get extra credit if you lose on a last-second field goal, but man, it's not just the 0-5. It's the fact that 4 of the 5 have been straight-up ass-kickings. And Mike McCarthy is done. We all know it. Mike McCarthy is playing out the string. He's a lame duck coach. Jerry Jones is not going to pull the trigger on firing him during the season. I think that would be a mistake anyway. So Mike McCarthy is going to coach out the rest of this year, and we all know at that point he's gone. After 3 12-5 seasons, things have gone right down the toilet for the Cowboys this year, and there's not going to be any way for Mike McCarthy to save his job given the state of things in Dallas. Now, with that said, the fun speculation that we're liking to have on shows like this and that fans are enjoying and that's lighting up talk radio all over the state of Texas is who will be Mike McCarthy's successor. We have speculated that maybe Bill Belichick could be the guy. Will Jerry Jones be willing to give Belichick the type of control that he wants to come in and take over the reins of a franchise? I don't know. They have the kind of relationship. Perhaps they could make that work. However, the name that we have been hearing more and more in recent days is that of Deion Sanders. Deion, who has the Colorado Buffaloes in position to possibly make an outside run at the college football playoff this year. His son may be the top pick in the draft next year. Certainly he's going to go high in the draft. What is the allure for Deion Sanders to stay in Colorado once his children are out of the program? A lot of people asking these questions. Former players, sometimes they make real good head coaches, and Michael Irvin had some words for Jerry Jones last night.
To have an ability to not go the normal route and still end up right here, you give him respect. I give him respect like I give my great guy Deion Sanders, who didn't go the normal route. Who I'm gonna be in Jerry's ear about later. That's just something else we're talking about.
Yeah. It's about Michael. Now, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I gotta say.
So there you go. Not last night, but at the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson extravaganza the other night. It happened at AT&T Stadium. Now, Deion Sanders, former teammate of Michael Irvin, Deion Sanders proving his coaching chops in the collegiate ranks. Obviously, there's an ego there, but Deion brings excitement. Deion brings drama. I don't know if more excitement and drama is what we want in Dallas, because we've certainly had the drama this season. It hasn't been the right kind of drama, but Rex Ryan, former head coach of the New York Jets, concurs with Michael Irvin that a former player might be the answer. Let's listen to Rex.
No, look, and here's the crazy thing. Look, they got to restart, but they got to do something that, in my opinion, like, how are you going to fix it? Well, I look at a couple of teams recently. All right, I look at the Lions. Who'd they hire? One of their former players, right? Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
Okay. How about the Houston Texans?
Former
right
player.
Down the road. Former player, one of their former players.
D'Amico Ryans.
D'Amico Ryans. All right. I can see Aaron Glenn going to New Orleans next year. All right, or the Jets. You know, a former player. All right. Deion Sanders may be in play here. And I'm going to tell you, they need something. They need to have somebody that has the pride in that damn organization. Being a Dallas Cowboy, the pride you take in it. And by the way, Deion, everywhere he's been, has been kicking you know what. Mm-hmm.
Well, Rex has got me fired up about it right now. Let me go now to the international streaming star joining me from Nashville, Tennessee, Ronnie T-Shirts. And Ronnie, Michael Irvin in Jerry Jones's ear over the weekend at the Tyson Paul fight. Rex Ryan pointing to the success of Dan Campbell and the success that other teams have had bringing in former players who know the organization and have that organizational pride, if you will. What do you think about the idea of Dion bolting Boulder after the season and going to Dallas?
Well, I definitely think that he's done in Colorado, like you alluded to earlier. I just don't know why he's going to stay once his kids are gone. I've not the biggest fan of Dion, but I will say this. I think that he would probably do really well with the Cowboys if, and it's a big if, he's got to have the right people coaching around him. Campbell's doing a great job with the Lions, but they've got Ben Johnson as an offensive coordinator, and that guy is highly sought after to be a head coach someplace. So I think Dion is an amazing motivator, and I think he could get guys to play for them. And let's face it, the Cowboys do have a lot of talent, so it kind of feels like kind of desire and motivation is what they're lacking down there. So I think if you have Dion and you surround him with coaches that know what they're doing on an NFL level, I think that it's a recipe for success.
It could be. Look, Ron, you and I have talked about this both on this program and privately, how we have both sort of been around the bend with Dion. We were ready to vote for him for president last year.
We were.
Remember how much we were loving him
Yep.
last year? We were driving the Dion bandwagon. And then earlier this year, we were both talking about how we're just tired of the
Dion fatigue.
sideshow. We were tired of the antics. Now I'm kind of back liking Dion a little better, but do you really want to ride that roller coaster? Because he's such a personality, and whether things are going well or whether things are going bad, it just seems like there's a lot of distraction with Dion, and I'm not sure I would want it if I were Jerry.
Yeah, but the last time the Cowboys played in a NFC championship game was, what year, right? 1995. So they're not going to play in one this year. So it's going to be 30 years, which seems inconceivable that if I would have told you in 1995, hey, enjoy this because for the next 30 years, it's not going to happen, you would have bet your life that I was wrong. So, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting the same results. Well, maybe it's time for the Cowboys to do something that's not normal, that's not something they've done in the past. Look for, the coach that's got a lot of experience and he's a good NFL guy. Maybe it's time to shake things up because for 30 years it hasn't been working.
Do you think Belichick is a fit there? I mean, the guy's over 70. I don't care.
Nope.
George Foreman once said that you're only as old as the woman you feel. So Bill Belichick feels like he's 24, but he's over 70. And is that the guy that you want to bring in to try to turn things around? Now, look, by the same token, Jerry Jones has had so much plastic surgery, I can't keep up with how old he actually is. But how old is Jerry? He's got to be,
80
what,
something.
80?
80, 81, something like that. Yeah.
Let's be realistic. It's like the old Adam Sandler movie where his ex-girlfriend said that she had a boyfriend and he had a 5-year plan. And Sandler was like, what is it to not die because the guy was older? It's
right.
Like if you're Jerry Jones, you don't have the luxury of playing the long game and saying, hey, look, we're going to do this the right way and we're going to contend for 10 or 15 years after readjusting. Jerry would like to win one before he leaves this mortal coil, and he ain't got all the time in the world to do that. So there's a sense of urgency there. Maybe Belichick makes sense for Jerry since he needs to microwave this thing, but I'm not sure bringing in a guy as old as Belichick is really the right way to revitalize a franchise.
Oh, you see, I see it totally different than you, Ricky. I look at Dion as a Hail Mary. Like he only has X amount of time left. So let's throw the Hail Mary versus let's build this thing the right way, put the put the building blocks in place and then layer it up. I think it's time to Hail Mary, and Dion is a Hail Mary.
Well, you know what? If they're playing the Chicago Bears, they got a chance if they do that, Ronnie, because we're the only team in football at any level that can't defend a goddamn Hail Mary. I'm going to throw a Hail Mary right now, and it's called America's Poll of the Day, Ronnie. Let's go to it over at Super 70 Sports on X. You're goddamn right. And today's poll comes to you courtesy of me. I wrote this one, Ron, and here are your options, my friend. We have No Country for Old Men, the Coen brothers movie starring Tommy Lee Jones and Josh Brolin and Anton Chigurh, Javier Bardem. Is that how you say it? I don't even know how you say his last name, but a fine movie that I've put in here for your consideration. We then have the Seattle Supersonics, 1979 NBA champions, unjustly removed from Seattle and taken to Oklahoma City. Neil Diamond, the great pop star who has so many hits throughout his long and illustrious career. And lastly, Fruit Loops. Toucan Sam and Fruit Loops. Is Toucan Sam, he's the Fruit Loops guy, right, Ronnie?
Yep, he is.
All right, so what do you got here? Break it down for me as you do so well.
All right. No Country for Old Men, have not seen it, so therefore I have no opinion.
Ron.
What?
Ron. Okay.
Ricky.
All right, you've seen Gladiator now, even though you gave it a tepid review.
Right.
A very pedestrian review from you of Gladiator, so I almost have more respect for you when you hadn't seen it, to be honest. Then you come back with like your bad take on it. E.T., you still need to see E.T. for God's sake. That should be number one in the queue right there. And now No Country for Old Men. You need to watch this, Ron. You would like it. I can't imagine that you would not like that movie.
All right. We'll put it in the queue for after football season, or if I'm on a plane again.
Anton Chigurh, one of the greatest villains in movie history, just an unbelievably great character. And you are aware of the character at least. Call it friendo.
Nope.
Ron, Jesus Christ, dude. I need somebody who was born in America to host this program with. Please proceed, sir. Have so many thoughts on No Country for Old Men, and I'm talking to you like, I don't know, like you think I'm reading the Hong Kong phone book over here.
A lot of Lees. Downtown Freddie Brown, Slick Watts, Jack Sikma, and Sean Kemp. Those are the first four that come to my mind for the Supersonics. You got any different?
You said Sigma, Sean Kemp, Downtown Freddie Brown, and who was your other one?
Slick Watts.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, I would add Gus Williams and his receding hairline, which was one of the great landmarks of Seattle, along with the Space Needle. I would add Marvin Webster, the human eraser, to that. Of course, Xavier McDaniel.
Yep.
Perhaps a Detlef Schrempf. And then I would also add Gary Payton, the glove.
Oh, Gary Payton. Yep. Absolutely. The glove. Yep.
Kevin Durant, the greatest active former Supersonic. Yeah. Ronnie. Kevin Durant played 1 year, right? 1 year.
Yep.
1 year in Seattle before he left because he realized that he didn't have enough legendary teammates.
Neil Diamond.
That's the reason he left other teams. I'm sorry. He didn't have a choice to leave Seattle. In fairness to KD.
Neil Diamond, that is one of the albums that I remember my mom and dad having. I think it was Hot August Night was the album. So I remember that. And of course, I mean, Sweet Caroline is it is iconic now in sports. And Fruit Loops, don't dislike Fruit Loops, but I certainly, the few times that I buy cereal, it would not be Fruit Loops that I'm buying them. So I'm actually going to go with Neil Diamond.
No shit. Can you name 5 Neil Diamond songs, you fucking communist?
Oh gosh, Sweet Caroline, something in blue jeans. Some person in blue jeans.
I'm not giving you
Betty?
partial credit.
Betty in blue jeans. What is it? Come on.
Forever in blue jeans, Ron.
Forever in blue jeans. I know his songs if I hear them. So
you're
who
voting
you
for
picking,
him on
Ricky?
the basis of you know 1.5 fucking songs, and that's enough for you that you're riding with Neil Diamond. You literally have no fucking idea.
I haven't seen the movie. I wouldn't buy Fruit Loops. And I mean, it was between the Sonics and Neil Diamond. So I'm going Neil Diamond.
All right. This feels like the old podcast, Ron, because I'm just going to give you some thoughts on Fruit Loops right here. I think America's ready for this. I fucking hope so. I got 2 thoughts about Fruit Loops. One, I have read that all the different colors, they're actually all the same flavor. So you've got yellow and red and blue and all of that. But if you think that they taste different, that's just you mentally psyching yourself out, because those are just dyes and they all taste the same. Or so I have heard. I can't say that with 100% certainty, but I believe that is accurate. The second thing, Ron, and that's more of just a little factual nugget for our audience today. But secondly, does that spelling look weird to you? The way that it looked, the Fruit Loops? Does that just not pass the eye test for you? It doesn't look like it should be spelled that way to me. Is that just me?
Well, I mean, they do it to be cutesy, right?
Well, they do it to be cutesy, but it's actually one of the Mandela effects. Are you aware? You know the Mandela effect. Where
Yeah,
people
we
think
talk,
that
yeah,
we slip out of one timeline into another.
right.
Berenstain Bears and Chick-fil-A spelling and all of this shit. It's based on the theory that some people swear that they remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison like 30 years ago or whatever, 40 years ago. All right. Fruit Loops is one of them. And there are a lot of people who swear that Fruit Loops used to be spelled with the conventional spelling of fruit.
Oh, UIT.
And somewhere along the way it changed. Yeah, it does look weird when you look at it. But anyway, all right, Ryan, look, I like Neil Diamond. Fruit Loops aren't my favorite, but they're pretty good. I'm not going to turn down a bowl of Fruit Loops. No Country for Old Men is a great movie. I don't find it to be a rewatchable movie. You know, there's some movies that are just Dazed and Confused. I've seen it 100 times. No Country for Old Men is like a profound piece of cinema. It's just not the kind of thing you throw on and watch over and over again. So for that reason, I'm going to ride with the Seattle Supersonics, Ron. And I believe that the Supersonics, I believe that they're going to fucking win this poll. Which one do you think is going to win today?
Well, the one thing I didn't factor into this poll, because I was just talking about players, is, I mean, the Supersonics have a sick logo and just amazing colors. So I love Kelly green and yellow together.
You're goddamn right. It's a tragedy on every level. And what a badass name, the Supersonics.
Yeah.
Ice Cube even sang about them, and it was a good day, Ron.
I know he did, because the Lakers.
He never sang about the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'll tell you that, or rapped about them. Yeah,
the Lakers beat the Thunder. Today was a good day.
Yeah, no. See, nobody's buying that.
Yeah, it'll. Fruit Loops is not going to fare well. I would say Supersonics or Neil Diamond. Fruit Loops is just not a.
All right.
It's not Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Only one way to find out. Only one way to find out. Producer Tim. We're going to learn a little something about Producer Tim, as we always do. He's thinking about it, and he's going with Fruit Loops. And you know what? You're right. Fruit Loops coming in last. But a reasonably competitive race between the other three there, Ryan.
Man, I feel like if you would have had Cinnamon Toast Crunch or something a little bit more popular, you could have got that elusive 25s across the board.
Yeah, I should have gone CT Crunch there. Could have been the difference maker. But see, No Country for Old Men. Take a look at that.
Yeah, it's winning.
The guy in the middle, Ron, is just a sick fuck. And he kills people, and sometimes he flips a coin to determine if he's going to kill somebody or not. And I have always said, I'll say it again, the best thing, we talked about the helicopter yesterday that dropped a football before the game, and the captains, ran after it, even though they didn't actually use that as the coin flip. I've always said the Super Bowl, have him come out in character as Anton Chigurh and do the flip and just say, call it, friendo, and then flip it for the Super Bowl. I would mark out for that so hard.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.